Hello, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Dr. Lizzie Burns, and today I'm going to be showing you how to fold your very own beautiful rose. And I'm going to be introducing to you some special guest scientists as well. This workshop is part of the Echo Happiness Hub. Echo is a charity supporting children and young people with congenital heart disease and their families. Echo is there for families at every stage of their heart journey and provides practical information as well as opportunities to connect with other heart families. The Echo Happiness Hub is all about bringing fun, distraction and learning to families while they're at home during the pandemic, or while staying in hospital as their child undergoes surgery, treatment or recovery. These workshops are hosted in partnership with our friends at the Centre for Medical Engineering at King's College London. And today we're going to be joined by scientists, Professor Serena Council and Dr. Alexandra Bonthrone to chat about their research exploring the brain. Hello.
Hi.
You're going to be able to find out more about Echo, and you can do that if you have a look at their website, echo-uk.org. So in a moment, we're going to get started and we're going to start today's fold. But first of all, you're going to meet the special guests. So during this time, please do use the comment function, share your thoughts and questions for our scientists throughout the workshop, but also just use it to say hello. We want to know that you're there, so let's encourage each other. So please do say hello. Obviously, please be considerate of others when posting. But first of all, welcome Alexandra and Serena. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. I wonder, before we get going on the fold, can you say a little bit about yourselves and your work? We'd love to hear.
Sure. Well, my name is Serena Council, and I work in MRI. I use MRI, which takes pictures of the inside of the brain to look at brain development. I started this quite a long time ago, and we've been studying how the brain grows, how it folds, and looking at the inside, the connections of the brain from about 24 weeks gestation to childhood.
Oh, amazing. And I guess this is also about folding. So we're going to be finding that link. I know you've got some beautiful images. Alexandra, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Alexandra and I'm a scientist. And what I'm really interested in is understanding how children develop and what contributes to the huge variety we see in children. So I'm really interested in how the brain contributes, but also how the environment contributes, and also how those things change over childhood.
Oh, fantastic. We'll hear a little bit more about that as well as we go along, won't we? So I reckon we should all grab ourselves a piece of paper. I know you were both saying that you're willing to give this a go. I know you've not tried either. So you're going to be very much participants with everybody else at home. So if you grab yourself a bit of paper, and I don't know, it may be a good idea to put me on full screen so that we can, that's right, so that we can see what's going on. So any paper will do. I'm going to use, hello Samantha, I'm just going to use A4 paper. And what we'll do first of all is we're going to make a square and then we'll start folding. And what I'll do is I'll also be asking questions as we get going. I'm going to be asking Serena and Alexandra questions as well. So I'm going to direct the camera down. Brilliant. Oh, that's good. So to make a square, it's simple but a wonderful thing to learn. Simply take a corner and bring it over to the side. Line it all up. Take your time so it's all nice and lined up. It's all about the impact. It's a little bit like, well, it's science really. Again, the attention to detail. So lining it all up, little piece of engineering. Good strong folds will also help as well. So underneath here, you've got a square, but we need to get rid of this rectangle. So if we turn it over and then bring it back and line it all up. And do shout, actually, Alexandra and Serena, you can also be the audience to let me know if you need me to explain anything better. So lining this up, good strong fold. Oh, hello, Casper. And to us all, thank you for saying hello.
Hi, Casper. Hi.
So we just want to remove this rectangle. So you can cut it off, but actually, if you've done a good fold, you should be able to just do a little tiny nick. And if you have it down on the surface, definitely have it down nice and flat. You should be able to gently rip off that strip. Keep your hand nice and close to the line. And that should be a way that you can have got rid of your strip of paper. So hopefully you will have a square which has got a diagonal line through. What are you doing, Alexandra?
Made it that far.
Excellent. And I love the thought that when we're doing this, we're all doing it together. I mean, this is what these sessions are about, isn't it? Feeling together. And we're doing something physical. I think that's really nice too. So how are you getting on, Alexandra? You're organised, great. Oh, you've got some pretty colourful paper there. Great, excellent. So what we're going to do, we've done one diagonal line. We're going to do the other diagonal line. So that's your next step. When we get going a little bit more, I'm going to start asking questions as well. We'll see how good you are at multitasking. Certainly all the scientists are good at this, so we'll find out. So we're doing the second diagonal line. So we've done a diagonal on both ways. That's it. So actually, I can start asking you some questions. I wonder if you could explain to us anything about how did you get into your field? I was really interested, Serena, you were telling me earlier that your background's a little bit different. So I'd love to hear how you got into your field.
Sure, yeah. Well, I wanted to work. I knew I wanted to work with technology, but I also knew I wanted to work where in a field where I'd meet people and work with a big group. And so I originally started as a radiographer, which is someone who takes medical images, X-rays. And then I started working in MRI, and particularly MRI of the developing brain. And I found that really interesting. And I became very interested in the science aspects of it. And so I did my PhD and moved from focusing on the imaging to the whole picture, looking at development as well.
And MRI is a way of being able to look inside the body, isn't it, and see how it's working. So that's kind of an amazing thing. It's different to X-rays, isn't it? Because you're able to look at soft things in your body.
You're right. So there's no harmful side effects. We can look at anywhere in the body, and Alexandra and I focus on looking at the brain. Yes.
Oh, the most interesting part, well, it's all interesting, but the brain is phenomenal. So we're using it right now when we're doing our origami. So you've hopefully done both diagonals. So what we want you to do next is take your sheet, turn it over, and it looks a bit like a tent. It's nice shape already. And then what we'll do is we'll do a horizontal and a vertical. So you do the diagonals on one side, turn it over. The direction will help. And do a horizontal and then a vertical. And what about you, Alexandra? I don't know if you're up for folding while I'm asking you. How did you get into your field?
Sure. So when I was at school, I always really enjoyed science and different aspects of science. And then when I went to university, I focused on neuroscience, which is the study of the brain, looking at systems, but also things like cells in the brain and how genetics influences the brain. But I really enjoyed the research aspect. It was really intellectually stimulating, but also creative. And then I got particularly interested in looking at children because it's a period of such enormous change, a lot of which we don't fully understand yet.
Lots to do. Oh, thank you. So interesting. So hopefully, oh great, Serena's there. Hello, Kate. Hello, Dottie. Lovely to know you're there. Excellent. Right, what we're going to do at the moment, it looks hopefully a bit like this. If you gathered it up, it would be a square. We actually want it to be a triangle. So to do this, if you pop your finger underneath the middle, you should push it up and it will pop. And it will form a triangle. So you can then squash in the sides and fold it. I'll show you again, just in case you didn't get that. It's good for the brain. It's very spatial. And I think we don't use our spatial side enough. It's very stimulating, quite hard work. So hopefully it was like this. Put your finger underneath the bottom, pops up. We should be able to squash it in. Alexandra, how's yours? Have you got the colour on the outside, or is it the wrong way around? Oh, good.
I'm lucky I've got colour on both sides, so I can.
Oh, that's good.
I don't have to worry too much. But yes, I got to a triangle. So.
That's it. Great. How are you doing there, Serena?
Not too well. I don't think I'm folded quite so well. I haven't got points. So I'll just make my lines a little bit stronger.
Yeah. It's about being accurate and giving very strong folds. And when you're folding, you're also letting out a little bit of stress and tension. So it'll be relaxing to add those nice strong folds, and it will work better as well. Is it? So did you do the diagonal on one side and then turned it over into the horizontal and vertical, and that will help it fold up?
Okay.
Going. Your diagonals on one side, then turn it over and do the horizontal and vertical.
Okay, that's clearly what I've been doing wrong.
Yeah, it's the direction. But we only learn through doing things, don't we? I wonder whether that's a bit like our brain as well. You know, unfortunately, we have to do things to really start to figure out how things work. Often the hard way.
I'm getting there, I think, slowly.
Yeah, well done, this achievement. So hopefully you've got
Yes,
something
that's a lot better. Yes.
Great.
Great.
Hurrah. Lovely. That's brilliant. Right, so one of these corners, doesn't matter which one, you're going to take the corner and we're going to bring it up to the top. So bringing it up, and we're going to do that for both sides and then also the other side too. So it will end up looking like a square. This is, yeah. So it was a corner, doesn't matter which one, and bringing it up to the top. I was actually taught this flower by an amazing origami. She's actually a primary school teacher in Turkey, and she uses origami in her lessons. I would love to be in her class.
Yes.
Again, the other corner, bringing it up to the top. Is that making some kind of sense? It's going to be hard for you to answer things, isn't it, while doing something that's so completely new for you as well. Oh, great, you're on the other side. Right, in that case, I can ask you another question. So today's session is all about folding. And I wonder if you can tell us anything about the role of folding in the brain, because I do think of brains as being rather wrinkly, all of those folds.
Well, you are quite right, Lizzie. And actually, for today, I brought these along. 3D printed models from our MRI. So we can take MRI of the pictures of the whole brain and then print 3D models of them. And this is a brain. This is the front of the brain. If I turn this round, got the front of the brain, the back, and the bottom, the cerebellum at the bottom here. And this is around 20 weeks gestation. So it's in utero still, the fetal brain. And here is what our brain looks like at 40 weeks. So when the baby is born. And you can see that during this period, the brain growth is rapid, the brain gets a lot bigger, but really importantly, you can see that the folding starts very smooth. And as the fetus gets older, the baby brain develops, it becomes very folded at around the time of birth. And really, that's because the outside of the brain is growing a lot faster than the inside. And the folds essentially allow us to pack more of the cells of the outside, the grey matter. They allow us to pack more of those cells into a limited skull space. You can imagine how big our heads would have to be if this wasn't so wrinkly.
So I always think of the outside of the brain as being the clever bit. So the only way it can get bigger, is to wrinkle up. So if you think of sort of almost the size of a table, that would be the surface of your brain. And if you then get it inside something as small as your skull, the only way you can do that is to wrinkle it up.
And the reason it's so important is that the cells of the grey matter, the neurons on the outside, these are the cells that are responsible for receiving sensory information from the external world. And then they send commands to our muscles, for example, to allow movement. So a very important part of the brain, the outside.
Wow. So the wrinklier, the better. You don't often say that, do you? Be proud of your folds. We've got a wonderful question here from Samantha. So MRI tests can be stressful for children and their parents at the bedside. How do you think wellness and looking after the well-being of carers can help? Any thoughts from either of you? I don't know whether you got Serena.
I think, Samantha, you've made a really good point that we're increasingly becoming aware of, that actually we think of the family rather than just the children and who we're studying. And we do know that actually stress for parents is a really big, important part of development as well. And so I think any way that we can actually help support parents of the infants and the children that we study, we're very keen to do that. So any ideas that you have where we can actually help support you, but it's also something that we're very interested in looking at ourselves.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. That was a great question. And I guess doing things that are fun, making things as playful as possible, will make you feel happy. Obviously, your child happier. The more things you can do together, make things a game, I would have thought, is always quite a good thing with children. They're always so creative and playful themselves naturally, so encouraging that. So hopefully your triangle, you folded up the corners up to the top on each of these sides. So I think we're ready for our next fold, our next step. So any one of these little flaps here, it's like a little pocket. So if you can put a finger in a pocket and then push it down, and it will make a square. I'm going to direct the camera down. For me, it's a bit confusing for my brain because it's not a mirror image for me on the screen. So for me, it's a bit complicated. So anyway, it's all about the brain. So one of these little pockets, put your finger in and squash it down. Keep everything lined up so it looks like a little square, and then folding it to the sides. So for each of these pockets, finger in. I recommend finger in just so that you don't get a little tuck or a wrinkle, which will affect shape. So it starts to look a bit like a little tent or a house. For some reason I was thinking the bake-off tent at the point. Don't know whether you enjoy it. It's a nice look. And if you turn to the back, and it's the same thing. If anybody needs me to explain again, please do say. I guess the good thing is with these videos, you can watch them again. So you can make a whole big bunch of roses. Someone special. Again, a little pocket. And encouraging people to express their care and love for others, not just romantic, but for family, for friends, for people you want to say thank you to. And hopefully you're getting there with this. Is that making sense for you, Serena and Alexandra? Yeah? You're getting there. It's a whole little kind of story. I love it with origami. It seems so kind of obvious, but it's such hard work. If any of you have ever tried designing origami, it is not easy at all. It is really quite astonishing. It's a bit like science, that people have made discoveries and then passed it on, which is a lovely thing. It's culture. So everyone's looking a bit like a little tent?
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Right. I reckon we can start the next step while we're there. So the sort of corner here that's in the middle, take the corner and fold it back up. It's almost like you're opening up the tent. That's it. And the same on the other side. And Alexandra, I wanted to ask you about how different parts of the brain communicate. I know you've got some nice images too.
So as Serena helpfully said, we've got this really wrinkly outside of the brain, which communicates, which has many important functions. And as you said, Lizzie, is the clever bit. But if we think of the brain like a computer, we've got all these activities happening, and we also need wires to connect it all up. So with MRI, we can look specifically at these wires, and this is called the white matter. And what you can see here is a really lovely, colourful picture showing all the wires that connect the different parts of the brain up in babies. And they're really beautifully colour-coded. So anything that is in green runs from the front to the back of the brain. Anything in red is a side-to-side connection. And the blue run from the top of your head down towards the bottom. So these allow us to exchange all this information from different parts of the brain.
So beautiful. It really is stunning. And it all tells you information as well. I think that's just brilliant. Did you have, I think you mentioned that you might have a video as well to really show the insides of the brain as well.
Yeah, so we've got a really nice video, I think, which shows we can look at the outside of the brain, we can look at all the wires that connected up, and then we can also look at what's at the very inside of the brain. So you can see here the wrinkly outside is in grey, and then we've got all those structures that are at the centre of the brain in bright colours, which we can also look at with MRI, which is really interesting. And so we can start to build up an image of the whole sort of computer network, if you take that analogy further, of all the different bits of the brain.
Wow, kind of that scene as well. I can imagine making a nice little sculpture if any of you at home want to make your own plasticine brains. I can imagine that being a fun thing to do on a rainy or a snowy day. Yeah. So hopefully your little tent is looking like this, where we've folded up these flaps on one side, and then hopefully you've done it on the other. I've realised I haven't, so I need to catch up. Asking questions. Hope that's working for you. So that's great. So next, yeah, you all happy there, Serena, Alexandra? Yeah. And the audience to say if you need me to slow down. So next, think of this as little leaves of a book. So if you leaf through to a smooth side, you do that at the front, and maybe actually turn it to the back and do the same thing as well. So that's great. You can look into the tent, but then move the page around until it's smooth. So we've done that then on both sides. And next, what I want you to do is take the corner and bring it up to the top middle. And we'll be changing our fold. So far, it'll become a square. I'm going to have to move this down again. See what I'm doing. So bringing it up and into the middle. That's it. I found it very interesting. So with origami, I very much at first felt I cannot do this. And it was actually only a patient asking me to learn that I felt as if I really ought to give it a bit more of a try. And at first I found it very hard. I almost remember kind of almost feeling as if I was having headaches just trying to remember at first the steps. And now I find it so much easier to remember new things. You know, I can quickly remember new folds, and I just marvel at my brain that it's changed. I've changed it through all of that practice. The corner again to the top. It's like anything, practice makes it so much easier. I guess that's all neuroscience, really, isn't it? How that practice, I guess, makes pathways in your brain that bit easier, but it's a bit hard at first, isn't it? And have either of you done origami before?
As I think you can tell, no.
Doing great. Always be kind on yourself. It's quite impressive to be live on camera while attempting this for the first time, so I commend you hugely for your bravery. That's brilliant. Are you happy we've got there? Great. So our next step is our little square. Now at the bottom, there's the very bottom of that triangle. We're going to lift up and we're going to tuck it up into the middle. So we're just going to lift up a side, and it should form a nice little neat shape. So I'm bringing it down the bottom and I'm bringing it up there into the middle, like so. Do either of you do sort of creative crafts or anything to relax, you know, forget about science for a little bit?
Well, I did drawing, but I wouldn't say I was very good, but I enjoyed drawing, yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's I think the importance of art actually is do not be judgmental on yourself. It's not about good or not good. It's about enjoying it, and actually with art there is no right or wrong. So whatever you do is your expression, and you will change your time. It's like anything. You can't expect to pick up an instrument and play it, you know, brilliantly. It really is practice. But drawing's such a lovely thing because it just makes you look at things so much more, doesn't it? What we take for granted. So it's again turning a little leaf of a page of your little book. And again, taking the bottom and tucking it up. So you're doing that on all 4 sides. We're actually making good progress. We're not that far off a rose. And I know it looks nothing like a rose at the moment, but we're doing great. I think in just a few minutes, we'll have ended up with something, hopefully, that looks like a rose. So again, going through each of these little pages, the bottom corner, lifting it up. Sort of looks a bit like a little boat there, I think of. Great. Bottom corner and up. It's keeping us all busy, isn't it? There we go. How have you got on? Oh, brilliant. Excellent, Alexandra. Excellent. Fantastic. Right, we really are close. And I thought of this one when you were telling me about the brain before, because of how it starts off smooth and looks a little bit simpler, and then with time it becomes beautiful and folded. And in just a moment, we're going to make this into something so much more complex. Like your brain, it can blossom and flourish. So we're going to take just one side, and what we're going to do is lift it up and pull it back. Maybe I'll direct down the camera. So lifting is just one side, lifting it up, and you will find that the sides can then flatten and it forms a square. So it was down there, and we lifted up the flap and squashing the side up, pulling those sides out, and it will form a square. Has that worked for you? This is great, because I feel as if I'm experimenting on you. For the role reversal. Alexandra, how are you getting on? Excellent. Excellent. Brilliant. Right. This is going to be the base of our flower. So if you think of that, it's going to sit flat. So if you just take the point and bring it up so it will sit kind of vertically. Oh, it's so spatial. I always find it hard to put these things into words. That's it. That's great. Right. We are almost there. Believe it or not, this looks nothing like a rose. In a single twist, this will become a rose. It's a bit like so the best advice I recently gave for this was almost not to look, but anyway, I will try to show you first of all. Can you see when you look down, there's sort of almost 4 little pieces of the pages there. What I'm going to do is try to get your fingers into each of these. Try to get your fingers between those little flaps of paper. Yeah, and then rest that on your hand. Now just twist, and you don't really need to look, almost not look at all. Just twist and twist and twist, and it will become a rose. I imagine. How's it going? Oh, Alexandra, well done.
There we go.
No, mine doesn't look.
They're fantastic, and they're all going to look different. That's the lovely thing. Also, can you see that the ends of the petals are a little bit sharp, so you can sort of curl them back as well. So you can do a little bit of sculpting, make it a little bit more curvy. So I'd recommend doing that. I'm hoping for you at home or in hospital that you've been able to make your own beautiful flower. And the advantage of this flower is it will just keep flowering. It'll keep blooming. And you could use the video and make more as well. But it should also just sits really beautifully on the hand. I keep on going the opposite way. I think we've done pretty well in terms of time. considering we had a lot to do there. We talked about science as well as making your own rose. So thank you so much for joining the Happiness Hub. We'd really love to see what you've made in today's session. So please share photos of your creations with us on social media using the hashtag Echo Happiness Hub, as you can see on the screen. If you'd like to speak to someone at Echo or wish to access available support, please visit their website for further details. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's been quite hard because we've been doing so much. You probably you haven't got time to type comments. It's the problem with origami. You can't be writing at the same time. But we really hope to see you next Tuesday at the same time for some art therapy activities as well with Liz. So I hope this has been fun and stimulating. I'm sure it's been good for your brain in some way. And to meet Alexandra and Serena as well. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Lizzie. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And well done making your roses. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.